everyone, it's Jack and Ross from Cultaholic here on Tuesday morning for some lovely wrestling news. Ross, you've had another encounter with the electrician.
Yes, he lost a tool, and he still has a tool that is lost. That is the morning I've had so far. What a fantastic time it's been.
So he was accusing, well, not accusing, but he was insinuating that the tool was in our office somewhere.
The tool must be up here, but it wasn't up here, so what are you supposed to do, eh?
I mean, I reckon he's left it in another one.
I mean, I might have sold it on eBay, but More than headlines.
Where else did he turn up? Was it the podcast? Yeah, it was
the podcast. Yeah,
it was a good time. Anyway, yeah, some wrestling news. I'll do the headlines right now. There has been a huge update on Andrade following his recent departure from WWE. Next up, we take a look at the reason behind Charlotte Flair's recent absence. And we also take a look at the backstage reason behind changes to one of the big WrestleMania main events. So first of all, Ross, let's talk about Andrade because he obviously has recently requested and been granted his release from WWE. According to Dave Meltzer, there is no non-compete clause in the terms of his release, which one, is very interesting, and two, is quite unusual because I thought they just always put them in.
Yeah, I thought that was just common practice with all sort of WWE contracts when it comes to being released. But I don't know where it came from last night on Twitter, but I saw some things saying that Charlotte got involved and Charlotte threatened to quit if Andrade didn't get his release and stuff like that. So maybe this was a bartering tool from WWE off the back of that just completely unsolicited rumour I've just plucked there from Twitter, which could be complete bollocks.
It could be true, but it does sound a bit like speculate. When we left the old place and came and founded Cultaholic, I saw a lot of people doing similar kind of speculation, saying stuff like, I bet Adam and Ross were more aggressive about leaving, but Jack and Sam were a bit hesitant and had to be convinced. And I was like, people are reading a lot into the actions of people they don't know. Sorry, that was a bit of a personal, just throwing in a very personal example there. But you're right, it could well be true. But obviously, as with all speculation on Twitter, it's good to take it with a pinch of salt. Apparently, FTR also didn't have a 90-day non-compete clause in their contract.
They were another act, or call them an act, like they're some sort of stage performance thing. Another pair of wrestlers who famously wanted to get away from the company for some time. So maybe it just gets to a point where a superstar is that hell-bent on getting away from the company. They're just like, well, get away then. We'll do away with the 90-day clause thing. But then again, Dean Ambrose, John Moxley, he had a big one, didn't he, famously?
He did, and they also booked him in the lead up to his release and made him look really rubbish. So I'm surprised they don't do that more often when they're trying to slow the momentum of people that they're letting go to a potential competitor.
Basically, what we need is all WWE superstars to just send us your contracts, and then we can get the proper news from there. So if you're Charlotte Flair, if you're watching, just send your contract over. We'll give it a once-over and send it back.
Absolutely. Andrade, this stat is crazy. He's not wrestled or appeared for WWE since October of last year, and his final match was a loss to former partner Angel Garza on October the 12th, 2020.
I'm sure that match went like 2 minutes 30 or something. I saw on Cage Match when I looked at it. They really did make such a mess of it all. The act was perfect. Was Zelina Vega? She cut the fantastic promos. He did the fantastic wrestling. It was all just fantastic, and it's a shame it didn't go further because obviously this time last year, Jack, they were running Monday Night Raw. The Vega Boys, as I used to call them back in the day, they used to be in multiple segments on Monday Night Raw right at the start of the pandemic era, and then it just sort of petered out into the summer into nothing. It was a shame.
Yeah, they were kind of in the same boat as Asuka for me. Like, not quite to the same extent, but they would always be reliable to just fill in wherever they were needed to and do a good job of it. Yeah. And now, well, he's just lost all steam for whatever reason. Andrade did tweet last night saying, I want to thank Triple H, Paul Heyman and William Regal for all these years and great support that they gave me all these years, and also to the fans who were always supporting me, and a big hug to all the talent and workers who always behaved kindly to me. Ross, he's not thanked Vince McMahon.
Why would he?
Yeah.
It all went a bit wrong when he got to the main roster, didn't he? But take that one, Vince.
I take that. It sounds like what he's done there is thanking people who've, and I mean, it makes sense, thanking people who perhaps have like believed in him or helped him. So Triple H and Regal from NXT, and obviously Heyman was supposed to be one of the people really speaking up for him on the main roster, along with people like Aleister Black, who've since Meltzer, I think it was, pointed out that all the people that Heyman was talking up, like Aleister Black, Andrade, Buddy Murphy, have all kind of just really dipped at the same sort of time. Almost suspiciously
It's not like Vince McMahon to be petty against someone else, is it? No, surely not. We can't be saying that.
There's been quite a bit of reaction to this, as you might imagine, including from Thea Trinidad, or formerly known as Zelina Vega, Andrade's former manager, who tweeted, "Since the moment I met you, I knew that you not only were an amazing person, but also one of the most talented in this business, and you'd be successful no matter what. I'm so grateful to know you and share these memories and have a brother for life. Love you, hermano. #Tranquillo for life."
Yeah, and I'm gonna go there, Jack. I know that AEW have signed a lot of former WWE people, but in terms of like maybe a pantheon of people they should and shouldn't be signing, surely the double act of Zelina Vega, Thea Trinidad, and Andrade has got to be high up there, and just something they need to do. It's a main event act, isn't it?
Yeah. I think any company would benefit from signing them if they were in a position where they're able to. I just still can't believe they've messed up Andrade, turning him into a star, and it's just. Anyway, from Andrade, let's move on to Charlotte Flair, of course, his partner in real life, who was absent on this week's Raw, which prompted a wave of speculation saying, is this because of Andrade in some way? Is this similar to, when Zelina Vega left? We haven't seen Aleister Black too much in that time. But instead, it was said last night on Raw, and since appears to have been confirmed on Twitter by people like Andrade, that Charlotte has actually tested positive for COVID. So first and foremost, obviously, we want to wish her well and wish her a quick recovery, especially on the road to WrestleMania. And apparently, it has nothing to do, according to Fightful and Sean Ross Sapp, with Andrade's release at all.
COVID?
No, sorry. Charlotte's absence has nothing to do with Andrade's release at all. Dave Meltzer as well has chimed in with a bit of an update given her WrestleMania status, because obviously it looked like she was going to be set up for a match with Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans became pregnant, and now it's all up in the air, and it seems like it's actually going to be Rhea Ripley versus Asuka. So Meltzer says he's been asking all week about Charlotte's WrestleMania status, and everyone's avoiding me on that one. Now he uses a phrase here that I'm not too familiar with, Ross. It might be an American thing, it might just be something I'm not too familiar with, but he says, there's definitely a story that's not the movie, because if it was the movie, it wouldn't be hidden. What's that?
No idea. I don't know what that means at all. Do you?
No.
It's not the. Maybe that's what's on TV, but movies are on cinema. I don't know.
Maybe he's saying if this was a movie, that I don't know. But it sounds like basically he's asking about it.
It's not a documentary. Maybe it's a No.
We're not going to get anywhere with this.
No.
But he's basically said it's definitely something that's been hidden as far as whatever the deal is with Charlotte. So for some reason, Charlotte's Mania status is all up in the air. Even though her absence this week has nothing to do with Andrade, we don't know the reason behind this shadowiness surrounding her WrestleMania status and who she's going to wrestle and what she's going to do.
It's strange because obviously at the weekend, myself and Sam on the news video were speaking about Charlotte getting removed from the WrestleMania poster. And if it is just COVID, I don't think they would have removed her from the WrestleMania poster. Just, going off previous instance of superstars going down with the virus. But yeah, it's a weird thing that I'm sure we'll find out more in the coming weeks. But just hope she's okay.
Yeah,
that's the most important thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Also, let's talk about a NCAA wrestling champion reaching out to WWE, because the University of Minnesota's Gable Stevenson, I don't know why I've thrown in that comparison, amateur wrestling, Gable, celebrated winning the NCAA wrestling title at 285 pounds by doing a giant standing flip and then sending a tweet to Vince McMahon, and he just did the waving emoji to Vince. So could he be the next Kurt Angle, maybe? I don't know.
The next Kurt Angle?
Yeah. Amateur wrestling.
Brock Lesnar, in it, the NCAA.
Oh, yeah. I mean...
And Minnesota.
Minnesota, of course. Yeah. That's a far more apt comparison and a bigger dude. His brother is already training at the Performance Center, and in fact, Brock Lesnar has trained with both brothers as well. He even spoke to Go for Sports about his relationship with Brock Lesnar, saying, "My relationship with Brock has been awesome. It's outstanding that a guy like that has noticed me and has gone out of his way to be there for me and guide me in the right direction. We all know who Brock is on TV, but behind everything else, he is a nice person and he has done some amazing things for me." I'm surprised, not saying that I don't believe that Brock's I don't think that Brock's a bad person. I just don't think Brock has any kind of... Is amoral the right word? He's just like a robot. He just does what he does, regardless of whether it's nice or not, and he just does it, and he eats loads of meat. That's how I always view Brock Lesnar.
To your point there, Jack, I was listening to Randy Orton's Broken Skull Sessions with Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Brock Lesnar, right at the start of Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar's main roster careers, was sat in a car with Randy Orton and said to Randy Orton, that was the sort of laugh Randy did. Can you believe we get paid for this? Oh. Now, would you imagine Brock Lesnar to say that? I reckon Brock Lesnar's created a fantastic persona that everyone's bought into, but behind the scenes, he's a completely different guy.
Maybe.
Much like us here, Jack.
That's true. I mean, you know, he could be a bright laugh. Get him on straight to hell, Ross. Go on. I'm sure he's easy to get. He also talked, Stevenson, Gable Stevenson, about his WWE ambitions in the same interview, saying, "This is a dream I've had since I was a kid. Everybody grew up watching WWE when they were young. I know I watched it. It's just been a lifelong dream of mine." He also wants to be a Paul Heyman guy, saying every great spokesperson needs its next public figure. Someday I wish that I can be that next public figure for Paul Heyman.
You could almost have like a Minnesota stretching crew of evolution kind of things. You could have Lesnar and Shelton at the top, this lad and his brother at the bottom, maybe Chad Gable in the middle. Lovely stuff.
Oh, that would be class. That would be very good.
Paul Heyman is the mouthpiece. Do it.
Yes, I think that would be fantastic. Yeah, I'm all for it. Well, I mean, it remains to be seen, obviously, how good Gable and his brother are at wrestling. But I think the passion is clearly very much there, which is a good thing, because these days you do see a lot of athletes brought in specially to the Performance Center because they're great at other sports, but they don't have the desire really for wrestling.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see someone who actually does care. And finally, we are going to talk a little bit about one of the WrestleMania main events. Obviously, it was supposed to be, or it originally was, Edge versus Roman Reigns. But now Daniel Bryan's in the mix. At the end of Fastlane, we kind of saw... Well, do you think it was an Edge heel turn? It was a bit of a heel turn.
I think it's just shades of grey from Edge. It's just he's always been a bit of a dick deep down, and while he's come back and he's been wholesome because he's got a second chance at doing the wrestling, the dick is starting to come out a bit, if that makes any sort of sense at all. Yeah. But it's good. I think it's good storytelling, me, because Edge is having a go at Daniel Bryan for stealing the spotlight, but then Edge has snapped, and in turn made Daniel Bryan take more of the spotlight. So Edge is doing things he doesn't want to do. It's fantastic stuff. Yeah,
and Bryan's not been totally goody two shoes either. He's been deliberately like worming his way in there and everything. So
it's refreshing to see baby faces being clever, because Daniel Bryan saying, "Oh, this might be my last WrestleMania. I'm getting in there," and he's just winding up people while being a baby face at the same time. It's fantastic.
Definitely. Well, reports have suggested, at least according to the Wrestling Observer Radio, that Bryan is gonna of course, well, reports from everywhere have suggested that Bryan is gonna join Reigns and Edge in a triple threat match. But Dave Meltzer's had a little bit of a look and a speculation at the reason why. He's been saying that apparently this decision came straight from Vince McMahon. It was reported a few weeks ago that Vince has taken WrestleMania 37 obviously back to square one, and this could be one of the reasons why, or one of the consequences of that decision. Meltzer says in this edition of the Wrestling Observer Radio that the decision wasn't necessarily made due to fears that Roman would get cheered against Edge, because he's been doing great work since he was a heel, and it's, you know, in front of a live crowd and everything. Apparently it's not that, it's just down to what Vince wants to see at WrestleMania. So a far more vague reason given there from Meltzer. But if that's all that Vince is giving away, then that's all we can infer from it, I suppose. Just what Vince wants.
Yeah, I mean, that's what all wrestling is in WWE, surely.
That is true.
But I was just thinking that surely it was so Bryan could maybe take the fall if Edge is going to win the title. I presume it's going to be on the second night of WrestleMania. I might be wrong there. I know that I haven't seen a second of Raw yet. Were certain matches announced for night 1 and night 2 last night?
Oh, I'm not actually certain either. I need to watch it too.
I think I saw that, yeah. So maybe I could be wrong there. But the anniversary falling of Edge's retirement speech, I think it was, and WrestleMania Night 2 this year is 10 years apart. So it's got to happen, hasn't it? So maybe Bryan's in there to take the fall as well. There's another reason to get him in there.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I do agree that it seems set up for Edge to win the match, but I would love for Daniel Bryan to win.
So would I. I'm behind Daniel Bryan now. He's just done fantastic stuff, just winding people up, and it's just been compelling viewing, I reckon.
Yeah, same. Well, that's all for today's news video. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Tom will be along with his Raw graded very, very soon. Ross, have you got anything, any news, anything in the pipeline?
Yeah, I'll be WTF moments I've done for the past 5 years. Will be today as well.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, fair enough. I have got no videos going out today, but I will be back in the very near future later on this week, and also on the website as well. Do check out cultaholic.com for some excellent news, features, and all that sort of thing. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. See you soon.